This is the simplest way of creating an Iro and Buba, that is a shirt and a wrapper, as we Yorubas would call it. Just look at what I made for myself and my sister. So easy, so simple to make. So I decided to start this with paper instead of cutting directly on the fabric, because you know me, I am a serious advocate of not cutting directly on your fabric. So if you have this paper illustration, you will know what to do, right? So if you are using the wrapper, that is Ankara wrapper, you would know that the normal length for the Ankara wrapper is what, 45 inches. If you're going to be making a very short if you are going to be making a very short wrapper, right, you can remove 10 inches from it. But if you're like me, I didn't remove anything from my own wrapper and I left it that way. What we usually use now for the wideness of the wrapper is 2 and 9 inches long, right, 2 and 9 inches wide rather, and then we use full length, that's 45 inches, or rather you can remove 10 inches for the length. The next thing I want to do now, still concerning the wrapper, is that I'm going to create a rope. The reason I'm folding this is to show you that it's supposed to be 2 pieces. So I'm creating 2 pieces of rope at 20 inches each. So it should not be less than 20 inches. It can be more than 20 inches, it can be 30 inches, as long as you want it. But make sure that it's not less than 20 inches so it can be tied properly. Make it 6 inches, and your 6 inches must be folded. So that's 6 inches. Now you fold it again for it to become 3 inches, and then you're going to stitch it down to become like a rope that you turn inside out. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Now for the next thing that we're going to be doing is our buba, that's our shirt. This shirt is not supposed to have joining at the shoulder. Okay, I will explain that later, but it must not have joining at the shoulder. So it's supposed to be folded vertically. Now on that fold vertically, you fold it horizontally, so folded into 4 to be cut, right? Now the normal length of shirt is 25 inches, and me, I usually add 3 inches allowance. So after adding that 3 inches allowance, okay, it will become 28 inches. Now for the shoulder measurement, we're going to use our hip measurement plus 1.5 inch allowance to sew this. So your hip measurement, you're not going to be using your shoulder measurement, you're not using your bust measurement or anything, but your hip measurement plus 1.5 inches divided by 4, because you know that the fabric is going to be folded into what, 4 pieces. If you are slim like me, I'm a slimmy, your armhole is going to be 9 inches. You are not covering anything, you're not going to be covering anything on this cloth. Your armhole is going to be 9 inches. So you see that place that I marked here, that's what you will use. Now for the neck width, right, neck wideness is going to be 3.5 inches if you are slim like me. But if you are not slim like me, brothers and sisters, use 4 inches so it will not be too slim. Now the neck wideness will be 3.5, and the neck depth, that's the neck deepness, right, will be 4.5. This 4.5 is going to be the same at the front and at the back. So you're using 4.5 at the front for deepness, 4.5 at the back for deepness. Take note of that, because the neck of your shirt, your blouse, is supposed to be the same deepness both front and both back. Okay, does that make sense to you? If it makes sense, please leave me a comment. Next thing that you're going to be doing is that make sure you confirm all measurements. Don't stress, just what I've done here. The length of your blouse, right, that is the length from your shoulder maybe down to your hip, is 25 inches plus 3 inches allowance. Your neck wideness is 3.5 inches if you are slim. If you are bigger, 4 inches. Your neck deepness is 4.5 inches at the front and at the back, right? Your material is supposed to be cut on fold, that is making it into four folds, making it into 4 patterns. That's when you open it, it's supposed to give you 2 patterns each. Now you just go ahead and notch your 9 inches so that you have that notch of where your blouse is meant to end. That's it about it. If you're still confused about how the folding is supposed to be, I'll show you in a moment. The next thing that you do is that you're going to cut your own bias. If you don't want to use a bias tape, that especially if your fabric is going to be a patterned fabric and you don't want to use a bias tape that would make your fabric to look, in my own opinion, it always looks somehow. It looks ish. That's just the word I have for it. So if you don't want your fabric to be looking, your sewing to be looking somehow, just go ahead. If you are okay with it, it's fine. Just buy already made bias in the market and use it to turn your fabric. But if not, this is the way we create our own fabric. So our own bias, our bias tape, it will be 1 inch, minimum of 1 inch, so you can fold it properly, right? Then you go ahead and fold the bias tape into 4, cut it along the neck, right? Cut it along the neck and make sure that it's a full circle, meaning that it will be like the blouse. Okay, see what I did here? That is how the blouse is supposed to look like. Fold it vertically, then fold it horizontally. So meaning that, so this is what it will look like. The neck will now be along that line that you see I'm showing you. Okay, and then to be open as a full cloth. So your clothes will be your blouse will be open as a full cloth now, not as 2 different pieces. There is no shoulder joining. Everything is supposed to look neat. So now for your sleeve, I made a mistake here, but it still flies. It still works perfectly. I was supposed to add 0.5 inches. I ended up adding 1.5 inches. It works perfectly. So 9 inches is the wideness, right? Remember that we put 9 inches on the fabric that we notched just now. We just notched 5 inches for the armhole, and now instead of adding 0.5 inches, I added 1.5. That works. That's still good, right? 1.5 inch allowance. So that gave me 10.5 inches. Now this 2.5 inch that you see that I wrote here, okay, is from the hip measurement. I minus the hip measurement from the shoulder measurement. So my shoulder measurement is 8 inches, right? And the hip measurement that I have on that cloth, on that fabric, my original hip is 38, and I added 1. So 38 divided by 4, divided by 4 is 9.5 inches, okay? Plus 1.5 is 11 inches. So 11 inches minus 8, right? So that's how I got to where I was. I think that's 3 inches. So I think for this one now, I must have arrived at 10.5 inches. So 10.5 inches minus 8. That's how I got 2.5 inches. Everything you saw me do on the paper is what I'm replicating on the fabric. So I folded the fabric into 4, meaning that there is no shoulder joining. Do not forget that. Make sure you watch the video to the end before you can start carrying out your own experiment. My neck wideness is what? 3.5 inches. Neck deepness is 4.5. And I cut it front at the back. I cut it for both front and the back. So I'm cutting it as 1. Okay, that's just basically what you do there. I'm feeling like I did not properly explain how to fold the cutting of the bias tape using the fabric. So this is what I did. Okay, I will fold it whatever way you call it vertically this time around. I fold it vertically, and I just measured like 6 inches because the deepness of this neck is 4.5, so 6 inches can work. So I fold it vertically 6 inches, fold it horizontally 6 inches. This is what it should look like. Okay, now I folded it into 4. I will now place the neck of that my fabric on it. It's supposed to look like this, and cut it out. Simple. So when I finish cutting it out, okay, I would now have 1 full bias tape specially customized for my blouse. That's what it's supposed to look like. I just use a free hand to cut this. It's supposed to be minimum of 1 inch long. That's what I did here. Easy, simple, happy. This now is what my rope looks like. I'll just show you my rope briefly. For this one, I used 21 inches, that's plus sewing allowance, and 6 inches wide. For the sleeve, I used normal now, we measured 13 inches long, okay, and 10.5 inches, see, 10.5 inches wide. I'll go to the machine, sew down. So what I even did to make things easier for me was that I used my iron and my hemming gum to iron the folding. So that 3 inches allowance, now I used iron to press it very well, so that when I'm sewing it, it's not stress me, because I was actually sewing for over 20 people. This was like a bulk order. I don't sew for people normally. It was like a church thing, and I was like, okay, let me just help my mommy's out. So I was sewing for a lot of people, and I wanted to make things as easy as possible for me. Now I was just showing you the neck. I'll use for normal Yoruba neck. If you're sewing for a grandma will not allow you to sew the neck of her clothes. Instead, she will make you to use hand. You will use hand to do an invisible sewing. That's what I did there. So now I'll come to the center, the shoulder, supposed shoulder of my, I'll make sure the two sides are equal, the edge shoulder of my blouse, and I'm going to notch that place, right? And I'm going to notch the midpoint of my sleeve too. So that's what I'm just going to do. So I will match shoulder to the midpoint of the sleeve, make sure that everything matches. Now this is my rope that I finished sewing. I'm going to go ahead and turn it inside out and stitch it. So I'll just show you what the stitching looks like now. Stitch it round in a square, right? And then stitch the center diagonally. That's it. It looks very easy. My Iro and Buba is coming together piece by piece. So this is the neck. It's for young women. So I have sewn the neck down. I'll just show you what I'll do next. After attaching the sleeves, the sides are not yet joined. I'm going to now make everything equal. Make the under equal, okay? Make the under equal, make the sleeve equal. So I'll pin it, keep pinning it till everything is equal, not one side longer than the other. So make sure everything is equal. Then I'm going to sew from 2 inches above the hip. So you see that I'm not going to sew starting from the most under point. I'm going to sew from that 2-inch point and sew down to the sleeve. That is basically it for our wear. So I just went and whipped everything, and I came up with simple Iro and Buba. Seriously, if you put your mind to this thing, I'm just showing you guys everything here. If you put your mind to this thing, if you're a beginner, let's say under an hour or so, you are done. You are done with one person's outfit. With cutting and sewing, very easy, very simple. On to the next video. Bye for now.